Hello, boys and girls. Greg from the Scary Spirits podcast here to make you another cocktail. This week's cocktail is the hard bubblegum lemonade. And as always, is the featured cocktail in today's episode. We're going to start with our tall glass with ice. To that, we're going to add bubblegum vodka, boys and girls. Yes, I made vodka infused with bubblegum. Just put some vodka in a glass, put some bubblegum in there, let it absorb for a couple days. There you go. 1.5 ounces bubblegum vodka. And I did do a shot of it earlier. It is very bubblegummy. Next, pink lemonade. 3 ounces. 3 ounces. Next, club soda. Recipe says 6 ounces. I don't know if I'll get 6 ounces in my glass. Let's see. I might. Look at there, boys and girls. It's like I knew what I was doing. There you have it. The hard bubblegum lemonade. It's pretty good. Tastes just like bubblegum. Thanks for watching, boys and girls. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
This week on the Scary Spirits podcast, we watched John Carpenter's They Live. It would be expected that I would talk about the horrors of the social issues that were prominent in 1963, when the short story this movie is based on was written, that were still relevant in 1988 when the film came out, and are still issues we face today. It's very discouraging. But on the bright side, without this movie, we wouldn't have our new fabulous morning mantra. Ready? Say it with me. I came here to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum. So I ask you, go out today confidently without your bubblegum. And give thanks to Rowdy Roddy Piper. Cheers!
Welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So, if you're ready, let's go.
Hello, boys and girls. I'm Greg.
Hey, I'm Karen.
And welcome to the Scary Spirits podcast, the podcast that combines the two very different yet highly compatible worlds of scary films and alcoholic spirits.
What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed. How are you, Karen?
I'm feeling a little down, Greg.
Down? What's wrong? Did you have a bad Halloween experience?
No, but it's over.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Post-Halloween depression.
Yeah, I get pre and post, Karen. So
You have a PhD now.
yes. Two of them.
Yeah, 2.
But I'm getting better.
How are you? You're doing well?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't care nearly as much as I used to, Karen, I'm finding.
Well, that's how it is as you age. Lots of things you don't give a crap about
right.
anymore.
I have no more fucks to give, Karen.
It happens.
It does. Apparently. All right, Karen, was this film your choice? Was it? Was it not?
It was my choice.
And what film have you chosen for us this week?
I chose the 1988 film They Live. They Live. I guess John Carpenter's They Live.
John Carpenter's They Live.
Yes.
Do you remember 1988, Karen?
Probably. I probably had fucks to give back then.
I know I did. Any reason you chose this film, Karen?
Well, I'm still trying to gain your approval. So I chose a movie that if you listen to this podcast on the day it comes out, this film premiered 2 days earlier.
Yes, it did, Karen. November 4th, 1988. I'm so proud.
Well, that won't last long, but I'll take it while I can get it.
Do we have a cocktail to go along with our film, Karen?
I'm so proud of this cocktail.
Go on.
It's called the Hard Bubblegum Lemonade.
I see what you did there, Karen.
Yes. Anyone who's seen the movie will probably know. And they'll be proud of me too. Wait, give me a minute. I'm going to bask in it. Okay, go on.
Thunderous applause.
Yes. It's a complicated drink in some ways.
It takes some pre-planning, I think.
Yes, some forethought.
Go on.
You're going to have to make your own bubblegum infused vodka. You're going to quarter 16 pieces of bubblegum and place them in a sealable glass jar. Add 2 cups of vodka, seal and place in the cupboard. I left mine on the counter. I don't stir every 4 hours for the next 24 hours. It does say sleep is allowed. After 24 hours, strain through a paper coffee filter into a clean, pretty jar and enjoy.
Did you make 2 cups?
No, I made 1 cup.
I did too.
What kind of bubble gum did you use?
I used double bubble.
Okay. So according to my 18-year-old son, that's the best bubble gum to use. I don't know why my 18-year-old son knows that, but apparently that's what you're supposed to use. I used Bubble Yum.
Did you say double bubble? Yum? I do remember. I love Bubble Yum.
That's what I used.
Yeah.
So then you have to do that for 24 hours before you even make this drink. But then you take 1.5 ounces of
I did it for
gum.
48. Is that okay?
Yeah, I did it too. So mine, I think, is extra sweet. And I'll tell you what, we don't drink coffee, so I don't have a coffee filter. So I used a mask. So we have a lot of those.
Okay.
It worked. You take 1.5 ounces of bubblegum vodka, 3 ounces of pink lemonade concentrate, 6 ice cubes, 6 ounces of club soda, mix them all in a tall glass and garnish with a lemon. Look, I was fancy.
Wow, you are fancy.
Yes.
You don't have a yellow straw, though.
I don't either. And says use 2 yellow straws. But this is a hit here. Everybody likes it.
Yeah, I used a metal straw because, I don't want to, I'm trying to save the planet here, Karen.
Yeah, it's something. It would make a lot of college kids sick, I think. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I did a shot of it. I did a shot of it.
Oh, and how was that?
It was very bubblegummy and it burned, Karen.
From the sugar?
I don't know. But the cocktail is much better. The cocktail actually tastes more like bubblegum than the straight up because it is so bubblegummy. It's like overpowering.
The shot?
Yes.
Oh, well, yeah. I'd never heard of it, but apparently my kids have. So there you go.
All right, Karen, should we give our friends and listeners time to make their own hard
bubblegum lemonade?
Lemonade.
Let's do that.
Yeah,
we'll see you in 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll see you in 24 to 48 hours. But, don't forget about us. Hold on.
And we're back.
Yes, we are.
Karen, might you have a brief synopsis for us?
I do.
Go on, tell us all the story from way, way back, Karen, in 1988.
Nada, a wanderer without meaning in his life, discovers a pair of sunglasses capable of showing the world the way it truly is. As he walks the streets of Los Angeles, Nada notices that both the media and the government are comprised of subliminal messages meant to keep the population subdued, and that most of the social elite are skull-faced aliens bent on world domination. With this shocking discovery, Nada fights to free humanity from the mind-controlling aliens.
Thank you, Karen. We are a match. Pretty good synopsis. I kind of disagree with their description of Nada, but
That he's a wanderer without meaning.
yes.
It's a little harsh. Aren't we all, though? Just wanderers without meaning.
All right, Karen, tell us everything you really enjoyed or were pleasantly surprised by this film directed by John Carpenter.
Okay, I hadn't seen this film before, and I know you have, correct?
Correct.
And I'm wondering if mine had cuts in it or something, but we'll talk about that later. I mean, what I liked about it is the same thing I didn't like about it. And that's that it's based on a short story that was written in 1963. So it was relevant in 1963. This film was made in 1988, still relevant in 1988, and now still relevant now. So I think that's the most disturbing thing about the whole film is that it's been relevant since 1963 and probably before that. So it's a little frustrating that nothing seems to change or change is slow. Rowdy Roddy Piper's in it. He's not terrible. He's much better than I thought he would be. I only know him as a big time wrestler. He was popular back when my brothers used to watch big time wrestling. I'm sure I told you my mom and the neighbor mom stood in line to get tickets and they went to an event at the Cincinnati Gardens with my brothers and watched big time wrestling.
Cincinnati
She said
Gardens.
it was the craziest thing she'd ever seen. So he's not terrible. There are moments where he's not great, but most of the time he's easy to watch. It's not distracting in any way, I didn't think. The story is interesting. The twist, I was kind of thinking that could happen, but they got me a little bit because I thought I'd passed through it. And so the twist did get me at the end a little bit. I was sort of thinking that was happening, but I wasn't sure. So, it's always nice when you're not expecting 100% the twist to happen and it does. So the little surprise there, I think, is nice. Special effects are pretty good for 1988. I wouldn't, every once in a while there's something that they're like, but overall they're pretty good. I guess that's it. What did you like about it?
Well, I have seen it before, at least twice, but apparently
Did you see it in the theater?
I did not.
Okay.
But apparently I can't remember shit anymore, Karen, because it was almost like
that goes with
watching
your
it
fucks.
again for the first time. I remember more about where I was and what I was doing the first time I watched it than the film itself. But I remember I liked it.
Okay.
Because this has been on my list for us to possibly do since I think we started.
Since our inception.
Yeah. But I always hesitated because I am not sure it's a horror film, but we'll get to that.
Yes, we will.
I love Roddy. He was one of my favorite
Did you like
wrestlers.
it because he was the bad boy? Is that why you liked him?
I always liked him. He was one of my favorites.
He wore a kilt.
Yeah, because I have Scottish heritage.
There you go.
And he's not from Scotland, but he has
Right.
Scottish heritage. And he was okay. He wasn't as good as I remember, though. There were a few times I'm like, well, he's trying.
There were a couple of
Bless
those.
his heart.
But overall, I didn't think he was bad. But there were.
He wasn't
I don't
bad.
even know
No,
if I pointed him out. But you're like, ooh,
The Holly Hunter or the Holly Thompson, her whole character. I'm going into things I didn't like, so I'm just going to stop right there, and we'll get into it later.
I agree the special effects were good. I mean, not every mask was perfect, right? But you choose your battles, you know, limited budget and whatnot.
Right. Budget constraints. It's an interesting concept, you know?
I like the music in it too. I thought John Carpenter did a really good job on the music.
It's true.
He's mostly like electro, techno stuff, but it was that, but it had a bluesy feel to it, which I
It
thought
did.
fit the film perfectly. Especially in the beginning when we're introduced to, I never called him Nada because I knew that was his name in the film, but not once do I hear anyone say it in the
I don't think
film.
they do either.
So how do you know that's his name other than you read it in the credits or whatever? But when we are introduced to him and he's a wanderer, and that bluesy music is playing, it's pretty good. That's like the first thing I thought. Yeah, story's interesting. I agree. I think that's it. Lots of action, Karen. Lots of action.
Sorta, yeah.
Almost too much action. Which, when you're just a little baby watching it back in 1988, you think is awesome.
Could it get any better?
All right. Anything you did not enjoy, Karen?
Well, speaking of the action, there's a fight scene that goes on way too long, I think, between two main characters. I think all of the aliens went to Stormtrooper School of, what is it?
The Stormtrooper Academy.
Yeah, they can't shoot. They shoot a lot. I mean, they do hit some people, but they don't hit a lot of people. They're very close and they don't seem to hit the main characters, which is kind of frustrating because, they keep coming and somehow they survive. Like I said, it's a little disconcerting that it's still relevant through all this time. Roddy has a couple of moments where he's not great. You mentioned it already. The female character, I think she's a pretty well-known actress, isn't she?
I recognized her. Yeah.
She's pretty, but she was wooden. And I don't know if she was supposed to be that way and I think they were supposed to have a connection. He played the connection between the two of them much better than she did. And I don't know if that was on purpose or he just seemed much more natural in their supposed love connection than she did. So she was a little distracting in that way. She looked a lot older in some of the shots. And I know she's not, but I don't know, but I assume she's not, but she looked a lot older sometimes, but in other times she didn't. Because at first I was like, how old is this woman? But then she looked fine later. I mean, I don't know. It's better than I thought it would be. But as we're going to discuss, not sure it's a horror film. It's not something that I necessarily didn't like, but as I watched it, it's science fiction, which we've watched other science fiction or thrillers that aren't really horror. It's not gory horror. It's just one of those, if you think about it, you could get deeper and deeper and deeper into conspiracy theories or something, and that could be horrific. But I don't, and if it was actually happening, that's kind of a horror situation, but it's not, it's on a lot of horror lists though. So I don't know. It's okay.
We need Dr. Craig to tell us what horror is again.
I know. We need a refresher.
Because one could argue that The Thing isn't horror either. It's more science fiction, right?
True.
Going back to The Thing from another planet. In that. And,
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly
Plan
a genre.
9. Plan 9 from outer space, Karen.
True. I think it's a genre. I think it's outer space alien horror.
I mean, is Alien, the movie Alien, is it a horror film or is it science fiction?
Is there anything you didn't like about this one?
Like I said, Roddy's good most of the time. There was a few scenes where
was he ever in anything else, or was this it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so other things. Was this his first one?
I don't know.
Okay, because it didn't seem like it was. Seems pretty natural in front of the camera.
He's been
but he's a performer
many times. He's a performer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell of an athlete. I didn't like the Holly character. Like I said, she was cold. And I've forgotten about the twist. So it was all right.
Well, it was new to you again.
Yeah, it was. It was slow at times too. It took a while to get going at the beginning. We're getting lots of backstory and whatnot.
Sort of.
The
But
fight
yeah.
scene went on for twice as long as it should. But he's a fighter,
Yeah.
go with your strengths, I guess.
Yeah. I'm sure.
You got
It
Roddy
was,
Piper. Let him
yeah,
fight.
let him fight, right? It was interesting too how everything was a subliminal message when you looked through the glass. Everything. Like you needed that much constant stimulation to be, oppressed. Everything. That I thought was kind of, it's not, again, something I didn't like, but I just found it interesting. It wasn't like you were getting bits and pieces, throughout your day. I mean, you were constantly barraged with it.
But were
It
the
just,
aliens seeing it, Karen? Or were they just seeing
I don't know.
normal stuff? I don't know.
It
Curious because
wouldn't look, it
I'm
wouldn't be
like,
a very
why are they?
interesting thing to look
No, it wouldn't.
like. It was,
Okay. That's pretty much all I got. Anything else?
no,
Uh, it's a small cast, Karen.
it is. And there's sequel
You
potential.
got you got three characters or three or four, whatever.
Well, then I'm embarrassed to say that one came back and I had no idea who he was
Well, which one?
in the story where, well, when they get in the tunnels and they go
Uh-huh.
to
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I didn't know who that guy that
Oh,
said,
yeah,
"Oh, I didn't
yeah.
know you."
That
I'm
was the
like, "Who
guy that
is?"
he was at the homeless camp watching the TV all the time.
Yeah, but I kept thinking, is he the construction? I was like, this is embarrassing. I don't know who that is. But yeah, it's got things like that. It's a film that I can honestly say I don't have strong feelings one way or the other about it. I wouldn't go out of my way to recommend it, but if someone said I'm going to watch it, I'd be like, "Oh, that's a good film." I don't really.
I think it's almost like a cult film now.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure it spawned many a conspiracy theory. Do you have a review of the Times?
I do, Karen. First, I have to tell you, this has an 87% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes,
Wow.
a 7.2 out of 10 on IMDb.
It's high.
Yeah, what do you think Google users think?
See, sometimes Google users screw me and go lower, but sometimes they go higher. What was the Rotten Tomatoes? 87?
Yep.
94.
Oh, I'm going to give you that one.
Did I go? What is it?
93.
Oh, but I went over. Dang it. 93. That was it that well, you probably tell me in a minute with the review, but was it that well liked when it came out?
I saw it on video cassette at a friend's
Oh,
house. It was in the 80s, I got to say. So it didn't
stay
went to video
forever.
pretty quick. I'm not sure when we went to Blockbuster. It might have been like just a mom and pop video store in town, Karen. Or some convenience store. Remember like convenience stores used to rent videos too? Whatever.
I don't remember because I didn't rent a ton because they were expensive. I was in school and they were expensive, and I had to rent the VCR machine too. So we had to get a lot of people together to make that happen.
Yes, 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 yes. The review I have is from the Washington Post by Richard Harrington, and I've read his things before. This one is from November 5th, 1988. So the day after it was released, Karen. And it's like 3 paragraphs, so I'll read the whole thing. Even for sci-fi, the creatures walk among us plot of They Live is so old it ought to be carbon dated. Oh, sure, director John Carpenter trots out the heavy artillery of sociological context and political implication, but you don't have to get deep down to realize he hasn't a clue what to do with it or the talent to bring it to life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's much like the Carpenter written music for They Live. A boring, bare bones 2 note bass riff masquerading as a soundtrack without ever approaching a resonant chord. The film opens with laid off blue collar worker John Nada. Apparently, his name's John. I didn't know that either. John Nada
Oh, okay. I thought that was a weird first name to have.
or nada. I don't know what it is. Wandering into a homeless encampment in a big city. There he stumbles literally into the shocking reality of a galactic sized conspiracy in which his fellow citizens are being hypnotized through subliminal messages on television and behind everything in print, from magazines to posters to marquees. When Nada dons special sunglasses developed by an emerging underground resistance, those secret messages are revealed. No independent thought. Consume, conform, stay asleep. This is your God, the message of money. Do not question authority. No parking. Actually, I'm not sure if that last one was with or without the glasses. Anyway, it's not just messages that are revealed, it's the aliens who tend to look just like young Republicans when viewed without the glasses. But like reptiles with formaldehyde face, Piper calls one before killing it, and many others, joining the underground, enlisting the help of fellow worker Keith David after the world's longest fistfight, and maybe, just maybe, saving the world. Turns out those darn aliens are just intergalactic free enterprisers doing a little cross-worlds exploitation of our natural resources because the Earth is just another third world to them. The media and the human power elite buy into this exploitation. For them, it's just business as usual. Actually, it's just John Carpenter as usual, trying to dig deep with a toy shovel. The plot for They Live is full of black holes. The acting is wretched. The effects are second rate. In fact, the whole thing is so preposterous, it makes V look like masterpiece theater.
I liked V. That was a TV show, right?
Yes, it was V
Yeah.
for the visitors.
I mean, at the time, I haven't seen it in forever. I don't know if I'd like it now, but
Yeah, Richard Harrington's pretty funny. So, do you agree with Richard Harrington, Karen? What kind of cocktail rating do you want to give this film?
he was pretty harsh. It's hard to kind of judge a film that's been, from 1988 when you don't really remember other movies from 1988. You're guessing, well, we think the special effects were probably pretty good for then. We don't know. We don't
Well,
remember.
it's like I'm comparing it to, like, I would have to compare it to, off the top of my head, E.T., Poltergeist,
I mean,
Gremlins.
it was fine. It's fine. I would give it a 4. I mean, it's fine. There's nothing.
A 4?
I think we've given better movies 3s than this, but I guess it could be a 3 if you want to fight for a 3.
Yes, I'm going to fight for a 3. I'm not giving John Carpenter's They Live a 4. And boys and girls, that means it took us 4 cocktails to get through it.
You're just reliving your youth when you liked this. That's what you're doing.
It's a cult classic, Karen. It's a classic.
Okay. I'm fine with a 3. I would say it's a 3.5. I don't think it's as good as some other movies we've given 3s, but
It's
it's probably better than
better
most
than
movies
some.
better than some we've given 4s to, for sure. So I'll go with a 3. I wouldn't say it's horror. So now that Halloween's over, it's a fine film to watch, but I wouldn't watch it around Halloween for the spookiness or anything.
All right, 3 cocktails. Are you ready to get into it scene by scene, Karen?
Yeah, but before we start, just a little bit about 8:00 in the morning, which is the short story that it's based on, which I did say was from 1963. It says, in the short story that inspired the classic 1988 movie They Live, George wakes up to find that there is a great secret being kept from the world, and he's the only human to have found out the truth. That's the summary of it. I think he was in a coma and he wakes up. Ray Faraday.
Imagine that.
Ray Faraday Nelson is an American science fiction author and cartoonist. That's who wrote it. He was born in 1931 in New York. His most famous work is arguably the story 8:00 in the morning, due to the film that was produced based on it. However, he's also written other critically acclaimed works, such as Blake's Progress in 1975, as well as Then Beggars Could Ride in 1976. I think there was also a graphic novel made from the short story, and that, I believe, is what the film was based on. But that was just a little snippet I saw when I was looking up the short story.
Okay. Did you watch this on Amazon Prime, Karen?
I did.
Okay, I did as well.
And it had a lot of warnings that did not materialize.
Well, the warnings I wrote were nudity, violence, alcohol use, smoking, foul language, and sexual content.
Yeah.
That's all in there.
Sexual content was in there?
Yeah, at the end. The very end.
See, I think I missed it because what happened was mine ended as he flipped off the thing, and then it went right to John Carpenter's Escape from New York.
Oh yeah, you missed the ending.
I got no credits, no nothing. That was it.
Yep.
So there is sexual content and nudity.
Yes, there is at the very, very end.
See, it just stopped. It just flipped. I got an ad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And
Karen.
then I know. See, so, well, you'll have to explain it to me when we get there.
Okay.
I missed that. I don't know what I was shocked. I'm like, what's happening? An ad came on. I thought, well, that's weird because I haven't seen an ad and I paid for the movie.
Yeah, I got 0 ads.
Well, this was at the very end. So,
yeah.
Okay. Anyway.
All right. Rated R from 1988.
For those reasons that he just said. And he saw things that I didn't. Maybe you have the right glasses.
Maybe I do, Karen. Film starts. We have credits. And I call him Roddy Piper the whole freaking movie, Karen. I knew his name was supposed to be Nada, but no one ever called him that.
All right. Well, so he comes onto the screen. So here, Roddy Piper was born Roderick George Toombs on April 17th, 1954 in Saskatchewan, Canada. He was a pro wrestler from 1973 to 1987 in the NWA, Pacific Northwest, California. He was a longtime mainstay in the WWF and was one of the biggest bad guys during the early 80s before becoming a fan favorite in the late 80s. He became infamous for his mouth as much as his skills in the ring. He hosted Piper's Pit, which saluted the bad guys of professional wrestling, the most famous of which involved him smashing Jimmy Superfly Snuka over the head with a coconut. He was wrestling's most popular villain because of his feud with Hulk Hogan that culminated at WrestleMania 1. He went into semi-retirement after WrestleMania 3 when he beat and shaved the late Adrian Adonis. He continued to wrestle into the 90s, but spent much of his time doing color commentary for WWF TV. In January 1992, he won the WWF Intercontinental title from the Mountie, the only title he would ever hold in his storied career. In 1995, he had a stint as the WWF's interim president. He later resurfaced in WCW during the late 90s to continue his feud with Hollywood Hulk Hogan until the company's demise in 2001. Roddy Piper appeared in many action films. He died of a heart attack on July 31st, 2015 in Hollywood, California. Okay.
I loved Roddy Piper. He's one of my favorites.
Hello, boys and girls. You know, doing a podcast can be thirsty work. Lucky for you, we have all our drink recipes on our website, scaryspirits.com. And if you want to see how each drink is made, hit up our YouTube channel, Scary Spirits Podcast, and watch me play bartender. I show you how to make every themed drink. Now, back to the show.
So, Roddy Piper walking along the train tracks, and I wrote the opening music is good.
It looks like I got the impression he hopped off the train, right?
I guess. Yeah, I guess.
Coming from somewhere, he shows up like he was riding the trains illegally.
And he goes to an unemployment office, but nothing's available for Roddy. And then we see a street preacher talking about worshiping greed.
Which was big in the 80s.
Greed?
Yeah, like all the movies were about greed. Remember Wall Street and all those 1980s
Oh, yeah, greed
movies?
is good. right? Greed is good.
1980s.
Those were the days, Karen.
Yeah.
See, that's how us Gen Xers were raised, Karen. Greed is good, right?
Well, just move on.
And so then he goes and tries to get a job at a construction site. He's told it's a, union job, but he has to talk to the whatever foreman or whatever it is. Next, we see him working, and I wrote, he looks good with his shirt off, Karen.
He's got some muscle.
And after work, a coworker takes him to a homeless camp. And then we learn about the coworker's backstory. He's from Detroit, got a wife and kid, blah, blah, blah.
But he's homeless because he's staying in the homeless camp.
Yes. And then we have more social commentary. That's the first thing I wrote at the very beginning on my little notepad here is lots of social commentary. And apparently we learn a guy is hacking into the local cable station broadcast.
Well, before that, we see that he plays the harmonica to pass the time. Roddy does. Yeah. Because the harmonica was developed in Europe in the early part of the 19th century. Free reed instruments like the Chinese sheng, it's Sheng. Is that how you say it? Do you know?
I guess. I don't know.
Well, I thought maybe you'd heard of it because that's the predecessor to the harmonica. Had been fairly common in East Asia since ancient times. They became relatively well known in Europe after being introduced by the French Jesuit Jean-Joseph Marie Amiot, who lived in China. Around 1820, free reed designs began being created in Europe, and Christian Ludwig Buschmann is often cited as the inventor of the harmonica in 1821, but other inventors developed similar instruments at the same time. So they appeared in the United States, South America, and United Kingdom and Europe at roughly the same time. They were made for playing classical music. That's how they originated. Now they're more bluesy. But I never realized how complicated they are to play because when I was looking up, the history of it, there were all these different methods of how to play it and all these different styles and everything. So it's much more complicated than I ever thought.
Yeah, especially if you get into like a chromatic harmonica, Karen. The little slider.
Oh.
The chromatic. So it has every note. I worked in a music store, boys and girls. So here we go. More about the harmonica. Welcome to Harmonica Talk with Karen and Greg. So probably the most well-known harmonica is the Hohner harmonicas. And they have several different kinds. They have like the Sousa band one, but probably the most popular one is the blues harp. And all of those little small handheld ones, they are all in a particular key. So you need to have a harmonica if you're going to play with other people and they say, hey, we're going to play this in G. You have to pull out your G harmonica.
Oh, really?
Play along with them. Yes. Unless you have a chromatic harmonica, which has all 12 notes available, right? Because a scale is 8, but chromatic scale is 12. So there's 12 notes, but there's 8 in a scale. So there you go.
Too bad you don't have one and you could just play a note and play us out of Harmonica Talk with Karen and Greg.
Too bad I don't.
Okay. For anyone still around, proceed.
No, you started it, Karen.
I did.
And then I wrote, the ant races give them headaches on the TV, Karen.
Yes.
Because that's what you call
So there's
them.
a broadcast on the TV. So we see a lot of TVs all around. They can watch TV in the homeless camp. I don't know how they get electricity there, but they have it. So they're watching TV there. Every time you pass a store, there's TVs. So they're watching TV, and then there'll be ant races, static, and then you'll see pieces of the resistance speaking to the people. You're being lied to, blah, 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 but it will go in and out. So they don't have a consistent broadcast.
And we see the street preacher who we saw earlier. He is lip syncing to the hacker. So he knows exactly what the hacker is going to say.
Yes.
And we don't know why at this point. Like, is this some
I didn't know if he was
supernatural shit going on?
I thought maybe he was wired and was saying it so that people wouldn't know, like it was, He was the one broadcasting, but somehow they had a different face on it. He's a blind man. the preacher that was miming what they were saying.
So next thing I wrote is Roddy is suspicious of the guy who runs the homeless camp because he sees him taking the preacher back to the church and kind of putting him away.
And it's the middle of the night.
So he follows him over to the church. There's words on the wall that say, "They live, we sleep."
Yeah, he's in the church when he sees that.
Yeah.
Because the guy who runs the homeless camp says, oh, the church, because Roddy says, you were there at 4:00. And the guy's like, well, they let us use the kitchen. Yeah. And then when he goes in to investigate, it looks like a lab because, of course, they have different colored liquids.
Yeah, in beakers.
In some
and jars.
beakers. So, it's legit because every lab
Bunsen. I didn't see any Bunsen burners, so.
But every lab has colored liquid in it. But they're doing something there. It looks like probably, I wouldn't know, but I'm guessing a meth lab. Like it's a small little area. But anyway, he's in there and he's investigating inside the church.
He finds sunglasses. And I wrote they were running some kind of resistance operation from the church.
Yeah, they're playing like a tape of a choir as a cover.
Then Roddy is caught by the preacher, and apparently we learn he's blind right here because he wants to feel his face and his hands and everything. And we see a helicopter flying above the camp, apparently scoping out the church. And then Roddy's coworker tries to tell him to leave it alone. Leave it alone. Don't get involved. Just stay in your lane. Stay in your lane.
You got a job. You're going to get paid. Don't ask questions.
Later that night, helicopter hovering above the church. You see people leave the church and scatter. Police arrive. They raid the church. Then more police arrive in riot gear and they bulldoze the homeless camp. And we see the police beating the TV hacker and the blind preacher. Roddy's walking along the alley. He gets away and sees it. And then he grabs a younger member of the homeless camp who is like hiding, and they enter an abandoned building, and others from the camp are in there as well, hiding. Next morning, homeless camp is leveled. People are there looking for their things.
Yeah, anything they can find.
Roddy goes into the church and takes out one of the boxes he found earlier. He opens it up to find sunglasses.
A whole box of sunglasses. So we're going to talk. Now it's going to be sunglasses talk with Greg and Karen. So who invented sunglasses? Some people consider the tinted glasses that 18th century Venetian
Ray-Ban.
Some people consider the tinted glasses that 18th century Venetian gondoliers wore to be the first sunglasses because they're most like the ones we wear today. But the actual inventor of these sunglasses is unknown. Long before that, people put different items up to and on their eyes as sun protection. For instance, some might credit the Roman Emperor Nero for the concept of sunglasses, as he was known to hold gems up to his eyes. It's likely that early forms of protection from the sun were in use simultaneously in different parts of the world. While Emperor Nero held gems up to his eyes in Rome, people living in the Arctic cut slits into pieces of bone or other hard material and wore them over their eyes as sun protection. People just used the materials they had at the time. But I've seen that with the slits in the bone to help with the glare off the snow. Although we don't know the exact year when sunglasses were invented, we do know those Arctic goggles and Nero's handheld emeralds, predecessors to the sunglasses we know today, both first occurred approximately 2,000 years ago. So it was not Ray-Ban.
Oh, okay.
But good guess.
So he puts a pair of sunglasses on and he walks through the streets and he sees billboards that say obey, marry and reproduce, no independent thought, consume.
When he first puts them on, he freaks out and I'm like, well, what happened? But he sees everything in black and white when he puts them on. So he's looking down at the sidewalk, but the sidewalk's gray. So I actually went back a couple of times, like, what did he see that on the ground before he looks up? But it's all black and white. And then they're just billboards and everything has a message on it. Everything, every magazine, every billboard, every sign in every store. It's just everywhere with all the messages of obey, sleep. There's a lot of sleep, reproduce, obey,
He stops at a newsstand, Karen, and begins paging through, I think, a golf magazine.
I think that's what it is.
Although I don't think he can know it. I don't think he knows what it is. He's just
No,
seeing
because
the
that's all he
subliminal
can see.
messages. And then he turns and he sees the face of a man buying a newspaper, probably the Wall Street Journal, Karen.
Probably.
And the man looks like an alien.
With the sunglasses on. And he takes them off, puts them on, takes them off, puts them on, because this is the first alien he's seeing.
Right. So then as he walks through the city, he sees others that look like aliens and lots more subliminal messages.
The money that the owner of the newsstand is holding says on it, "This is your God." Because you see it, because he shoos Roddy away. You're going to buy it? You can't just read it. You got to buy it. Back when they had newsstands. They probably don't they probably don't have those anymore, do they?
I don't know. No idea. So then he goes to a store and he ends up confronting a woman in there.
Insults her, yes.
Yes. And then the woman talks into her wristwatch, saying she has one that can see. And then
they all
other,
start doing
other aliens in the store start tucking in their watches, giving it a description of Roddy Piper. So he leaves the store.
Say he is rocking a very beautiful mullet.
Yeah, as you do. He leaves the store and all the aliens watch him. And then cops confront him. He sees they're aliens, but they try to reason with him. And Roddy beats up two cops and takes one of their guns and shoots them. And he now knows they die just like people. He goes to their squad car, takes a shotgun and like a stick, and he takes everything he can get, I guess.
Yeah.
And walks down the street.
Yeah. I must say he's very calm when all of this is happening. There's no adjustment.
Roddy Piper.
To, wow, there's aliens everywhere. He's like, okay, cool. I'm just going to take care of it.
He is very quick to take care of it. Then he enters a bank and he sees aliens and regular people.
Well, and everybody kind of freaks out because he's all weaponed up now.
Yeah, he's got a
shotgun. He's got the
Magnums,
revolver, and the billy club and all that stuff. So he's, they all kind of go.
He walks in and he says, "I've come to chew bubblegum and kick ass, and I'm all out of bubblegum."
There you go.
And the security guard takes a shot of him. Misses.
That, my friends, is why we're drinking bubblegum lemonade, or what is it?
Hard bubblegum
lemonade.
Security guard takes a shot at him and misses. Roddy shoots him and all the other aliens in the bank. He doesn't miss a single one. Gets them all with one shot. And then one of the aliens, I wrote, turns the bezel on his watch and disappears.
Yes.
So he leaves. He's walking through the alley, and then he sees like
he just goes out the back door. There's police everywhere. He just strolls out the back door. I'm like, well, isn't that convenient?
And I called it, he sees a drone, but that wasn't a word probably in 1988.
Probably not. I called it a drone also.
A drone follows him as he leaves, and he shoots it. And then he runs into a cop who is not an alien, and he forces him to drop his weapon and run away. Next, he kidnaps a woman at a parking garage, who we learn is Holly. He forces her to drive him away. He has her take him to her house.
Well, he says, "Are you married?" She says, "Yes." He says, "Don't lie to me." And he says, "Do you live alone?" Because she's like, where am I taking you? She's pretty calm through the whole thing too. And he says, "Your place." And I'm thinking, I would not drive this person to my place. Like, that's just craziness. But she does. She takes him to her.
She does. So Roddy's
house.
wearing a wedding ring the whole time.
Yeah, I did.
Too.
Yeah.
Their gay pot smoking neighbors apparently watch as they get out of the car.
They're very interested that she is a man with her.
So then Roddy tries to tell her about the glasses. Then they make small talk. He learns that she works at the TV station. He gets up to turn on the TV and she whacks him in the head with a bottle of wine and throws him out the window.
Yeah, I was like, oh, he just flies through the window down like, 2 stories. He does, though, at this point, he's taken off the glasses and they are very difficult to wear. They make you have headaches and they're like a drug. So he's almost falling asleep right in front of her because he's so exhausted from wearing the glasses. But yes, she says, I'm thirsty. And she goes over and gets a glass of wine, stands near the window. He comes over to
She
her.
gets a bottle.
Yeah. And she smashes him in the head. And then just the whole window shatters and he falls out the window.
And then she calls the police.
Yes.
So, of course, he has lost his glasses now. So then he goes back to the construction site where he was working and he tries to talk to Frank, but Frank just wants to be left alone.
Frank's going to stay in his lane.
Yep. Then he's walking down the street and we see TVs with his picture on it. So apparently everyone's looking for him. So then he goes to the trash can where he dumped the box of sunglasses that he found earlier.
Yeah, he previously put them in an alley in a garbage can.
But the garbage cans are all empty. But luckily, the garbage truck is right there, Karen.
Isn't that convenient?
And he jumps in the back and looks for the box of glasses. And he finds them right on top there.
Lucky nothing disgusting in the garbage.
Just some
all
garland.
paper.
Some Christmas garland. Some Christmas tree garland was in there. So then he finds them and the garbage truck dumps him out and begins to drive away. So then Frank arrives in the alley. I don't know how he knows that's where Roddy's going to be or why he parks his car there or something, because apparently that's his car there. We learn later. Frank arrives and gives Roddy a week's pay. Roddy tries to get him to put on the sunglasses. He refuses. They fight.
And fight.
The next thing I have is they fight
and
some
fight.
more.
And fight. It's like, okay, oh, nope.
Yep. Eventually.
Okay, I think it's done. Nope, it's not done. Yes. Eventually.
Eventually, Roddy body slams Frank and puts the glasses on his head and forces him out into the street. And Frank sees aliens and a drone.
And they both look pretty beat up at this point.
So then they walk through the streets wearing their glasses, go to a hotel and get a room.
A seedy hotel.
And then they decide to find the others who made the glasses. But first they drink some beers and Roddy reminisces about his childhood.
Yes. Which was a pleasant experience for him, I can see.
Next day, they meet up with the guy who ran the homeless camp. He gives them an address to meet later that night. That night, they arrive at the meeting place and they receive contact lenses that replace the sunglasses. So they're not as easy to detect.
Less interference. Yeah, less interference, they say.
And they also receive watches so they can listen to the aliens' broadcasts. And they're trying to figure out how they disappear when they turn the bezel. And they also think that there is a single signal being broadcast throughout the whole world. And they think it's coming from the TV station. But then Holly arrives and tells them that the TV station is clear. So then Holly and Roddy share a moment. She apologizes. She thought she killed him.
He says, so did I. But he survived.
And then she says, I just want to, boom, police arrive.
Yeah, the wall explodes. They're in for a raid.
And they're raided, killing many of them. Police just run in, wasting bullets.
Yes.
They're just holding down the trigger of their machine guns, just killing everybody. A large gun battle ensues, I wrote. Roddy wants to find Holly. Frank stops him. The police arrive, and then Frank throws his watch, and I guess the bezel gets turned a little bit, and it says something about your watch has malfunctioned, and it opens up a hole in the ground where they can just drop down in. And they jump in and end up in a tunnel under the city. They follow the tunnel till they hear sounds and they arrive in some meeting hall, and it's a meeting of aliens and their followers.
But no one notices them. It's a very fancy ballroom banquet. Like people are in tuxes and ball gowns, and they are in blue jeans and
flannels
and they're beat up and dirty, and no one even pays one bit of attention to them.
But one of the guys from their homeless camp is there, and he has been recruited, and he assumes they have been as well. So he says he'll show them around. And he does. And
nobody says boo to them while they're walking around.
Nope. He shows them a transport area where apparently the aliens can go back to Andromeda, Karen.
Yeah, they just stand there with their
You have
little
any information
suitcase
about
and
Andromeda?
no, I don't.
Oh, okay. And then he shows them a control room where the satellite is pumping out a signal all over the world.
See, the way he was showing them around, I thought he was part of the resistance or something, just like undercover. Because he's like, okay, and here's this and here's that. Like,
No, he's just
how I know, but he
stupid.
was just showing them the Batman thing. Here's our whole plan.
So then they arrive at the TV station and they're in the control room, and Frank and Roddy pull their guns and shoot a couple of the guards, and they break into the TV station and shoot the aliens. Then they are looking for directions. They're looking for the roof. They butts into a room and ask
Somebody
for
tells him it's
directions.
up on the roof.
Yeah. So then they head for the elevator, but the cops arrive and then they take the stairs.
And this part's a little long too. Same thing over and over.
They try to
Cops
make their
find them, they
way.
shoot. They go up another floor. Cops find them, they
They
shoot.
shoot. Yep.
Go up another floor.
So eventually they find Holly and they grab her and head for the stairs. But as Roddy is running ahead of them, Holly pulls a gun and shoots Frank right in the head.
Yeah, that was we don't see it,
Don't see it. No.
but we see her pull the gun, point it at his head, and hear it. That was like, oh, that was a shock to me.
So then Roddy reaches the roof. He stares at the satellite. He yells to Holly and Frank to be sure they're clear. And Holly answers and says, I am, and then pulls a gun on Roddy. Helicopters arrive. Holly tries to get him to go inside with her to join, I guess, the aliens or whatever.
And I thought, this is so, at this point, I have here written, that's why she got away so easily from the meeting. I think she was the mole that
Yes.
brought the cops. And because she just walks in the street and they're getting shot and everything, and she just walks away. And I thought at the time, well, that's weird. How did she get away so easily? But this is how.
Yes. She's the mole.
But I didn't expect it. I mean, you sort of thought maybe through the whole, but this was confirmation that she's the mole.
So then Roddy pulls a gun from his shirt sleeve and shoots Holly. Then he turns and shoots the dish. Then the aliens from the helicopter shoot him.
They finally hit him. But the dish explodes 3 times.
Dish explodes, and then Roddy flips them the bird as he dies.
Yeah, that's what the last thing I saw.
Then we cut to the newscasters on the TV, and everyone watching TV can now see that they are aliens. Cut to people in bars, and they realize the person they were sitting next to and been talking to are aliens.
So as soon as the signal's gone.
Yes.
So what did you need all the subliminal messages for then?
Then, Karen, we see 2 bare breasts. A woman in a hotel room apparently having relations with who she now sees is an alien.
Oh.
Credits, the end. That's
Right,
where it
well,
ends. 2
interesting.
bare breasts, and the alien looks up and says, "What's wrong, baby?" The end. All right, Karen, what'd you think of the hard bubblegum lemonade?
I liked it. It's on the sweet side, but of course I liked it. There's only 1.5 ounces of alcohol in it, and everything else is mixer. So I'm going to like it because that's the way I like my mixed drinks.
And it's a lot. It's like 12 ounces.
Yeah. So it's a weak drink, but it's very sugary.
I don't know. It's good. I don't think it's all that sugary.
That's because you used sugar-free lemonade.
Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
Well, because I'm healthy like that, Karen.
I know you are.
But like I said earlier, I believe it tastes more like bubblegum than the straight vodka.
The bubblegum vodka is interesting. I mean, I don't hate it, but I like sweet drinks. So if you don't like sweet drinks, you're not going to like it, but I like it.
Mine is almost evaporated.
It's a summer drink. I would have it with an umbrella in it at the pool. Sure, bring me a hard bubblegum lemonade,
Yeah, it's good. I'm wondering what else I can infuse in vodka.
Oh, you can infuse just about anything, I would guess.
Anything?
Anything that has flavor.
Like cashews?
Well, they do hazelnut, right? So but you might have to I don't know. Do they use the oil or something? I don't know.
Might have to roast them first or toast them
Something.
up or something.
Yeah. Now
Yeah.
we've done Skittles and bubblegum. So we've done sugary things. But I bet you can certainly do citrus. I bet you could do herbs like basil or ginger or rosemary. But those kind of things, they seem to go better in syrups than vodka. So who knows?
Yep, it's good.
We just need another recipe now with bubblegum vodka. Do you have 2 cups of it?
I made 1 cup.
Oh, okay.
And I've done 2 shots from it now.
Plus made 2 drinks or just 1?
No, 1 drink and 1 shot. So,
Okay.
All right, Karen, anything we learned today?
We learned about harmonicas. We learned about sunglasses. We learned about Rowdy Roddy Piper. We learned about the short story. What's it called? 8 o'clock in the morning. I think that's it.
That's all I have.
Not a lot there.
Learned a lot about harmonicas, though. Are we ready to move on to next film, Karen?
Yeah. What's your choice?
Is it my choice again already?
Yes, it is. Unless you have a listener request. Do you?
No, I do not, Karen.
Well, then we have to suffer through your choice. What is it?
Film I have chosen is from 1970, Karen. It is
I'm feeling a Hammer film coming, is it?
It is a Hammer film starring Sir Christopher Lee. It is called The Scars of Dracula.
I don't think I've ever heard of that one. Did you make sure we could find it?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I did.
Did you only pick it because it's a Hammer film, or do you have another reason?
Karen, it was released November 8th.
So they missed Halloween?
Yep.
Do you have a drink to go with it?
I do, Karen. The drink I have chosen is called Bat Blood.
We haven't had that before.
No, we have not had bat blood, Karen.
Did you check and see?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I would remember this if we'd done this.
All right. What are we going to need to make that?
2 ingredients, Karen. It's 2 ingredients. It's a shot. We're going to need grenadine and Jägermeister.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I would have remembered that.
We're going to take a splash of grenadine and line the bottom of a shot glass.
Yes.
And then we're going to pour in 1 ounce of Jägermeister herbal liqueur.
I don't think I could find that last time we had one of these.
Jägermeister?
Well, I'm thinking maybe I bought one of the little ones, not the full, like a travel size? What do you call it? A little?
the ones you drink when driving.
Yeah, those. Throw in the backseat.
Don't drink and drive, boys and girls.
No, do not.
A bad joke.
Just the small. I think I bought the small one when we used it before. So okay. I don't think I have a full. I'm gonna have to go buy it.
Well, they have it at Kroger, Karen.
I know that one shouldn't be hard to find.
No, it is not. So there you go. Anyone you need to thank this week, Karen?
I'm going to thank our listener, like I always do, because there are a lot of podcasts out there. So thanks for spending time with us. What about you, Greg? Who do you need to thank?
Once again, I need to thank the people of the Keystone State, Karen.
Our popularity is not waning.
No, not there. And once again, I will be in Pennsylvania in just a few days. So,
anyone else? Maybe the band Verse 13.
Yes, I also need to thank the band Verse 13, Karen, for providing all the music in the Scary Spirits podcast. I'm sorry, the bubblegum has gone to my head.
The music definitely makes the podcast better.
Anything else, Karen?
Please drink responsibly.
Yes.
Thanks so much for listening. Want to keep in touch? Check out our website, scaryspirits.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. Find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, you can email us at info@scaryspirits.com. To help us grow the podcast, you can leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. We really do appreciate your support. And as always, please drink responsibly.